Wow. Thank you so much, Michelle and Aaron and the Junior Achievement Board and the Selection Committee for including me in this incredibly esteemed group of Southern Maine business leaders. I want to congratulate my fellow inductees, Dr. Howes and Ed. It is an honor to be recognized this evening alongside such accomplished members of our community. I'd like to recognize and thank, we have several members of Good Shepherd Food Bank's board here this evening, Jim Derrick, Bruce Damon, and Bill Williamson. So I want to thank you for the work that you do to support me and to support all the work at Good Shepherd Food Bank as we work together to end hunger in Maine. I'm also so pleased to be joined this evening by several members of my family, my son Alex, my niece Lily, my sister Jenny, who, if you look closely, has been cropped out of this picture. This was one of our Santa Claus pictures, of which there were many, and I cut her out to make this one, so sorry. But she's here tonight, so thank you. And I'm so glad that I have my first teacher, my first cheerleader and mentor, my mom, Louise, who is here this evening, thank you. Who I claim holds the title of the world's kindest person. So thank you. And lastly, my husband, Drew, who really shares in this award this evening. I believe that the greatest gift that you have given our two sons is that you model every day what it means to be a true and equal partner. I would not be able to do the work that I do without not just your support, but your partnership in managing our family. Our future daughters-in-law will forever be in your debt, as am I. I am especially honored to be recognized by Junior Achievement because it is an organization whose mission really speaks to me. Indeed, the missions of Junior Achievement and Good Shepherd Food Bank are very much aligned. We are both about making sure that all children have every opportunity to succeed, whether it's through mentorship, business education, financial literacy, or whether it's making sure all children have the healthy food they need to go to school ready to learn and be their best selves. Imagine what could happen if every child in Maine could grow up and reach his or her full potential. So I first learned about Junior Achievement when I was in graduate school. I volunteered to be among a group of MBA students to go out and teach JA classes in the Boston Public School District. I was assigned a sophomore class at a local high school, and I will never forget my first day. Having grown up among privileged middle class, I had the opportunity to attend well-resourced public schools. I remember there were always some kids in our classes who tended to get in trouble more than others, who tended not always to do as well as others. And I regret and am ashamed to admit that I judged these kids. I wondered, why didn't they just do their homework? Why couldn't they just behave? I have since learned so much, and I have come to learn more about understanding that living in the crisis and trauma of poverty make it almost impossible for children to engage in their education. You can't do your homework when your electricity has been turned off or when you're caring for your brothers and sisters at night. And it is really hard to behave yourself when you get angry and frustrated when no one seems to understand how tired and hungry you are. So I remember my first day as a JA volunteer when I walked into that high school, and the first thing I saw were metal detectors and policemen. Now, this was years before Columbine and Sandy Hook. These precautions were not put in place to protect students from dangerous outsiders. They were put in place to protect the students from each other. I met the teacher whose class the JA curriculum was selected to be a part of. He sized me up accurately and gave me some advice. Don't expect too much. They might give you a hard time. The students arrived and eyed me suspiciously. I myself was very conscious of the fact that I was the only white person in the room. I remember one student the most, Sean. Sean sauntered into class every week. No backpack, no paper, no pens, just his coat. Now, none of the students brought books. The teachers kept the books in the classroom. They knew enough then to send the books home with the students. So each week, Sean would come in, sit down, cross his arms over his chest, and stare at me. The curriculum I taught was called The Economics of Staying in School. It taught the basics of economics, supply and demand and price elasticity, and then applied these principles to demonstrate to students why it made financial sense to stay in school. The first few weeks went along okay, although I doubted if Sean listened to anything that I said. And then we had a class where the students were to put the theories they were learning into practice. I brought in a big bag of hard candy, tons of peppermint candies, a little bit less of strawberry flavored, fewer still of watermelon, and the fewest amount of butterscotch. And I distributed the same amount of each kind of candy to every student in the class, and they were to spend the remainder of the class trading candy. And the student who had the most valuable collection of candy at the end of the class would win. So the kids immediately started bartering and trading. I watched and wondered if Sean would participate at all. I saw him watching and noticing and engaging, and he noticed that a lot of the kids were honed in on that butterscotch candy. He then methodically went around the room trading anything for all the butterscotch candies. He would offer kids tons of peppermints just for their one butterscotch, and the students could not turn down the volume of candy he was offering. Pretty soon, Sean had every butterscotch candy in the room. And if you know your economic theory, you can guess what happened next. Sean jacked up the price of butterscotch candies. He pretty much cornered the market and became the titan of butterscotch candy. In typical human behavior, now that the butterscotch were worth so much, all the other students wanted them all the more. By the end of the class, Sean had amassed a small fortune in candy. When I called time to stop, he was sitting in the teacher's chair, his feet crossed up on the desk, hands behind his head, smiling over his collection of candy. I have no idea what happened to Sean. I would be arrogant if I were to think that my short time with him made any profound impact on his life. But his impact on my life was significant. I had my first glimpse into the effects of poverty and the deep inequities that exist in our country. And I experienced the amazing sense of fulfillment you get when you connect with someone, when you sense that even in some small way, you may have made a difference in someone's life. I know the goal of junior achievement is for the volunteers to positively impact the students, but I'm sure that I share the experience of all volunteers when I say the impact was made in the reverse. I completed my degree. I went on to a career in business consulting and finance. I continued to volunteer at Junior Achievement, later in New Hampshire and then in Massachusetts, and then in Maine, teaching classes at elementary and middle school and again high school. I continued to crave that sense of fulfillment that I was not getting in my day job. It took me nearly 2 decades to realize that maybe I could make a career out of doing this volunteer stuff. But it didn't all crystallize until I volunteered at a local food pantry and discovered my passion for ending hunger. That volunteer experience eventually led me to Good Shepherd Food Bank, an organization that now I have the privilege to lead. So I am so thrilled to be recognized by Junior Achievement because I believe that my experience in that high school almost 30 years ago planted a seed. Granted, it was a seed that took almost 20 years to germinate, but it was a journey that eventually led me to my home career. So thank you.